This episode of the Buffalonian Podcast is brought to you by the CastSource Podcast Network, a podcast network built with and for entrepreneurs. We cover many genres, including sports, business, mental health, marketing, and entertainment. We feature the podcast shows such as Sports Bring People Together, Limitless, Saviors of the Metaverse, and The Athletic Mindset. Learn more at castsource.com/podcast. And without further ado, let's get into the Buffalonian Podcast. The Buffalo Bills have squished the fish for the first time in this new year. And the Sabres have had a pretty lackluster week, to say the least. Along with the Would You Rather, hot takes, trivia, and more, and even the rundown. This is the Buffalonian Podcast. All right, let's go. We are back with the Buffalonian Podcast. I'm Joe Cali, and I'm joined by Dom Loss and Mike Marino. And fellas, the fish have been squished. It's a good day.
They scrambled the mammals.
Yep, scrambled the mammals. The salty Dolphins are back in the salt water. You know what I mean? Christian Wilkins, all that stuff. I don't know. We'll get to it. But without further ado, we're back with the Buffalonian Podcast, and it's a good week. For the Bills, at least. Let's not talk about the Sabres just yet. We'll get there. But the Bills overcame the Miami Dolphins and Skylar Thompson in their first matchup of the 2023 playoffs. 2022 playoffs, technically. Whatever, like season-wise. But, you know, we overcame them. It was 17-0 to start off. Boom. We were looking great. Got real close there all the way down to the end. I mean, just general thoughts, fellas. I mean, what were you thinking sitting there watching that? I know, Dom, you were at the game. I wish I had the shirtless pic of you to pot up on the screen real fast, but I do not. So, I mean, just general thoughts after watching the game. What were we thinking? What went through the heads?
Well, I definitely thought it was a jinx because I got off of work at the end of the first quarter, and as I was getting to my seat, the first play I saw from the field view as I'm walking to my seat is the Xavier Howard interception when it was 17-3.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, it was 24-20, and I was like, am I really going to sit here and I'm not going to see a single Bills touchdown? So,
yeah, that's
it was listen, I've been, I can now check off, the bucket list that I've been to a Bills playoff game. I it's probably big talk for me to say I will never go back to one, but I have no idea how people go to Bills playoff games, especially all those people in the early 90s that used to go to the Super Bowls. Like,
yeah,
I have to admit, I'm definitely a pacer, so me sitting in the seat, just freezing, watching them start to unravel was less than an enjoyable experience for me. But at the end of the day, happy they got the win. My voice hurts a little bit, but what can you do?
As it should. Mike, what about you?
No, I mean, I think that first quarter, we really got this is going to be like a Patriots game, that wild card game again. We're just going to destroy a division opponent. But I think the key thing there is that they are a division opponent. So you've already seen them twice that year. They were a hungry team. They kind of had that chip on their shoulder where at one point they were first in the division and they were the 2 seed overall. And then they kind of went on a slide. And now they're trying to prove everyone wrong that, even though we have a third string, we're still a legit playoff team. So, you knew it was going to be a tough game. I think we all knew Christian Wilkins was going to get in Allen's face at some point because that's the type of player he is.
Or somewhere else on his body.
Or somewhere else, true.
Yeah.
But no, I think we knew it was going to be a scrappy game, division team, and I'm just glad that we pulled it out at the end. I just don't. My one thing is that Ken Dorsey's getting all these. Or there's all the rumors that he's going to interview for Carolina. When you're up by 1 score in the fourth quarter and you're still taking shots downfield, I don't get that. Just run the ball, take the check down, move the ball. Don't take shots. It's just my opinion on the matter.
As we can tell, Mike almost went into cardiac arrest about it watching the game. You know what I mean? So
it's probably the closest I've been to cardiac arrest during a game.
Yeah.
To be honest. I mean, the only time I could ever remember being that close is probably the ending of the Colts game.
Oh,
in the playoffs, because
that was bad.
I could not breathe when they were about to do the Hail Mary attempt. I was like, they gave up a touchdown to Arizona. They gave up. Well, I mean, the Chargers won later in the season. They kind of gave up a touchdown. Not touchdown, I should say. They got tackled like the 2-yard line, but it was like a 50-yard throw from Herbert. And then, I mean, I'm just happy. Love Frank Wright, but happy that he let Phillip Rivers throw the Hail Mary attempt instead of Jacoby Brissett. But
yeah.
No, it's definitely one of those games where you look back at and as a 13-point home favorite against a third-string quarterback, they literally broke every single rule of they really broke every single rule of what not to do when you're that kind of favorite. I mean, they gave up a big punt return. They give up 3 turnovers. One was a defensive touchdown. The other 2, I mean, they gave up big returns on those 2 interceptions. I think Howard got it around the goal line, returned it all the way to the 50-yard line.
Yeah.
And then the other interception was returned pretty deep, and then obviously the punt return as well. So
let's not forget about a fumble into the end zone as well. I mean, there was some interesting stuff going on.
Well, no, and you get a drop touchdown from Dawson Knox. You get a drop 50-yard bomb from Khalil Shakur. If you just looked at the box score of this game, you would never have thought that this was a 3-point game. But
no, and that was the big thing. I think sitting watching it, I was getting ready. I had to play the Vikings Giants game on the radio. I had that ready to go. Then they delayed it like 20 minutes, so they just started playing the Bills game, and I was like, "This is ridiculous." That was the longest game I think I've ever watched in my life. It was pushing 5:10, and it was still like they were just kneeling. They were in victory formation when Allen was taunting Christian Wilkins and getting all in his face.
It was the second longest game in Bills history, I want to say.
Yeah. I mean, it was just,
and the only one that's longer was the Chiefs Sunday night game from last year. But that game's that was a weather delay. That wasn't
wasn't there a tornado warning or something?
Yeah.
No,
that was weather. This was a legit. And you felt that amount of time. I'm telling you right now, you felt it in the stands. It was like, oh my god, we were the 2-minute, the last 4 minutes of the first half took an hour. It felt like it was oh my god, it's 17-3. Okay, they kicked the field goal. Oh, they kicked another field goal. Oh my god, they scored a touchdown to conversion. Oh, we kicked a field goal. It was 4 scoring plays in 3 minutes, and then the third quarter took forever as well. It was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's just third time a year divisional matchup. It's going to be scrappy, like you said, and it was interesting to see McDaniel vaping on the sideline as well. I think he needed to get his stress out a little bit. It was just, there were so many memeable moments that came.
Wait, was he actually?
It's rumored. It looks like it.
Oh, I thought it was just a joke.
No, if you freeze frame it, there's something in his hand, and then he goes like he's sucking on something. So could be a Sharpie, like he's huffing a Sharpie or something too. I don't know. Something was getting his juices flowing, but could have been anything. But I don't know. It was you could see.
I'm glad that was recorded. We got to screenshot that or something.
I wish I had one. I would put it up right now. But it was just
a Sharpie.
Yeah, I don't know. It could have been either one, but you can't really. I think I've talked about this, at least off the pod to you guys. People go after McDaniel quite a bit, right? Say he's snarky, he's cocky. If we had a guy like that as our head coach making jokes and stuff like that, we would absolutely love it. I mean, come on.
There's kind of does that a little bit.
I mean, walking around, bopping around to some rap music, saying, "I wish it were."
Well, he's not like that. I should say.
No, but you know what I mean. Just he's got that swag, quote unquote, makes some crazy remarks in press conferences.
Every league has people like that. If you think about it, prime example, hockey. Brad Marchand, absolutely despise him, but if he's on your team, you absolutely love him.
Mm-hmm.
Like Christian Wilkins.
Christian Wilkins, you love him on your team, you hate him when you play against him. So.
Yeah. No, what did you guys think when that scrum started happening? When Allen was all up in the face?
I thought it took
pushing back.
I mean, I'm kind of glad they just did offsetting penalties on that. Instead of
Well, Mitch Morse came in like a
I don't know how the Bills didn't get penalized more for that. I mean,
I think Spencer Brown was kind of surprised he didn't get one because I think he's the one that threw him down. Mitch Morse just kind of came in and got in front of him, so he was not touching Allen anymore, and then Brown just threw him down.
Well, and then
But,
Dion's got his helmet walking away saying, "This is my toy now." You know what I mean? Not giving it back or anything. So it's just it was crazy watching this game. There's no other words to explain. It was just
Well, I mean, listen,
it'll be remembered next year.
Yeah.
When you play a division team for a third time, like these guys hate each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's no love lost. Like I feel like this was different from the Patriots. Last year a little bit from the fact of the Patriots were like on absolute slide, but they still had their entire people, and they just got like slaughtered, and like they couldn't do anything. Like the Dolphins were on a slide, but then they had the Dolphins came off a win, like a really high win to get at least some momentum back in. Like the Patriots came in after losing to Miami in a meaningless game for Miami. Like they got dominated by Miami, and then they came to Buffalo and got creamed. Like Miami had to win a game against the Jets, and I mean, they weren't super impressive, but they still won the game. So they were coming off.
Right.
I mean, at least that high of like, hey, we got in, we can make some magic happen. And listen, they came in with a game plan of like everyone's telling us not to blitz Josh Allen, but we got. I mean, our offense. I mean, look at them. They had 200 yards ish. They had like 3.3 yards per play, which is just terrible. Jalen Waddle like completely like.
So did Tyreek Hill. They both whiffed on like two passes.
Jalen Waddle was bad. Tyreek had a below average game. They had like 20 carries for 40 yards. We talked about how important the ground game would be without Tua, and that, I mean, the Bills defense, I mean, we'll talk about them in a second, but they really stepped up. But
yeah, maybe Tyreek should have warmed up those hamstrings a little bit like he told the Bills to do.
Maybe, but I mean, to win this game, I think Miami knew like we have to get turnovers, and we have to get turnovers, and we have to win the special teams battle. And kind of in an upset they did. Like Miami doesn't have good special teams, and the Bills have a top 5 special teams unit, and for them to give up a 50-yard punt return, which really should have been a touchdown. I mean, he didn't get touched for it until like the very end of the run. I don't think I've ever seen like
Sam Martin, I think, kind of broke it up.
Yeah, he tripped him up.
Which is funny because Miami's Morstead had to make a tackle and he got hurt.
Yeah, I mean, I've never seen the Bills special teams unit on a punt return give up like that many untouched yards. I've never seen that before this season, which is not the best look. And then T-Bass kicks the ball out of bounds. I don't know what was up with that. Like special teams, the mess for the Bills, the offense. I guess we'll talk about them in a second too. But they had the definition of like a roller coaster game. Only phase of the field that really dominated was the defense.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the thing going into this Bengals game, which we'll talk about on the Betting on the Bills episode. It's just you got to be firing on all cylinders, and we're firing on defense. After that last game, we were firing on special teams the game before. They haven't all cohesively worked really much in one game, except before pre-bye week, I would say, sure. Like there were a couple games where they all cohesively worked, but since the bye, they really haven't put everything together yet. But I don't know, moving into the offense, what are you thinking about the 2 interceptions? That's the first thing I want to ask you guys about, because one of them I would put on Josh, the deep ball, the one bouncing off of Beasley. I mean, that I don't, you know what I mean, necessarily.
I mean, the one was to Brown. It was definitely contested. He was definitely just taking a shot. Maybe a little underthrown, but Brown also really didn't try to play defense on it either.
Yeah.
He kind of just let it happen. And then Beasley's it just bounced off of him. The guy had his arm in there, and it was just lucky bounce right into the hands of the safety Holland. But I mean, that's not, I think, super much an issue in my opinion, because like I don't think they were like bad reads to an extent. They're kind of just like unlucky, But overall, offense, like I'm watching the game, and I just don't understand some of this play calling. Like I don't know if Dorsey's it's like an ego thing where he wants to just push the ball down the field and have these amazing plays and everything, but it's like, why? We're up 1 score in the second half in a playoff game. Like there's no need to be taking 50-yard shots downfield. Just run the ball, just do quick slants, check downs, just move the ball down the field, waste time, because when you miss these 50-yard bombs, it stops the clock or it can get picked, and it's just not worth it. I don't understand why he's calling these plays. I don't know he just wants to show off Josh, or if Josh has been like, I want to do this, and he's just listening, or like what
missing
it is.
Dable a little bit, maybe.
Yeah,
Like-
I definitely would agree. Like, so if you took out the 3 turnovers, the first one's on Josh, 100%. Do I think Brown could have done a better job breaking up? Sure, but I think it's more of Josh threw it like he threw it against the Patriots, which is long, which Xavier Howard was kind of a little bit back, where he probably needed to throw it like short and just have Brown kind of like come back to the football.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's a terrible decision. I don't think it's a great throw, and maybe at the end of the day, you don't want to do that if you think that's what's going to happen. The Beasley one is defensive pass interference. I hate to be that guy. I hate to be that guy because I think that's annoying. But the guy arrived early. Do I think?
No, he was riding them all the way. Yeah,
I think it's the best decision in the world to throw, a 10-yard pass on the sideline. So about 20 yards in the air to Cole Beasley, which is kind of a contested catch. Probably not, but at the end of the day, that's just kind of round luck. And then the third turnover is 100% Josh, the strip sack fumble. I think a lot of people have been blaming the offensive line for that, and it's not the offensive line's fault. I mean, the Dolphins.
Sure, the pressure, but
the Dolphins, but the Dolphins did a cover 0, which they did a full blitz, one more than you can handle if you don't put your tight end and running back in. And the tight end went to the flat, and the running back, I think, went in the flat as well. So he had 2 guys open where he just needed to throw it over the blitzing defender's head, and they would have had some yardage. He, ate it and tried to break the tackle and got stripped. So that was on Josh. But
yeah,
I think with Dorsey, it's interesting. I think in the beginning of the year, we were all frustrated of him based off the offense was so Diggs-centric. Like, every game, it seemed like Diggs had to have a good game, and Diggs was putting up this monster yard. But then if you look at the total yards, Diggs had such a great share of it where it was, concerning. I at least feel good, after this game where Gabe had 130, 113 and a tud. Knox had a touchdown. Beasley had, I want to say 30-something yards and a touchdown.
Shakir got some action, too.
Shakir had an action. I think everything – I like how Dorsey's figured that out. And the ground game has gotten better, as we've talked about with the running backs and stuff. But at the end of the day, it is kind of – they're very aggressive offensively. And at the end of the day, when you have a quarterback that can sling the ball like Josh does, you can't hate that they always do it. But it does feel like Dable knew what strings to pull in the sense of when to hone Josh in. And it doesn't seem like Dorsey and Josh seem to be 2 guys born too close to the same cloth of aggressive. And you need one of them, and it's not going to be Josh because he's a gunslinger. You need your offensive coordinator to kind of protect your quarterback from yourself sometimes. And listen, sometimes there is people open underneath and he threw it deep. I'm not going to blame everything on Dorsey or Josh because, honest to God, I think we're looking at a completely different game if Knox doesn't drop that touchdown. Or, that 50-yard throw to Khalil Shakir should have been a touchdown. Instead, he goes to the ground and drops it. And then a couple of the deep bombs, honestly, he had a guy and he just didn't make great throws. Josh did. But at the end of the day, you're not going to expect your quarterback to throw 40 yards down the field accurately every time. That's how you got intercepted and all that stuff. So I do think there needs to be a little he had 11 attempts for over 20 yards. Yeah. I'd be okay if that number decreased 3 or 4 attempts.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. And that's one thing I think throughout the year, I know we talked about their red zone presence isn't what it was either with Dable. You know what I mean? There have been red zone interceptions this past year and stuff like that, where we didn't see. They kept pulling up that stat that Josh Allen was so many passes without a red zone intercept, all this crap, and then he finally had some. But it was just, I think we're seeing where, like you said, Dom, Dable could hone Josh in and calm him down, where here he just gets peed off and wants to throw down the field and end the game every play. You know what I mean? And Dorsey is on board with that because he wants to do the same thing. So it's just I think it'll be tough because I think this season's a huge learning lesson on how valuable Brian Dable was, even though he ran it on 1st and 2nd down a lot and ended up with 3rd and long, which aggravated me quite a bit. And he did a lot of
they really did that.
You're thinking about Nate Hackett?
Maybe,
no,
but
Brian, actually, when Dable was the OC, they were actually in the tops of the league on throwing on 1st, 2nd down.
Nate Hackett ran it.
He did a lot of cutesy stuff that I didn't really appreciate. You know what I mean?
Sometimes did that, but I think sometimes you look at the outliers of how it stalled drives, and in reality, compared to other offensive coordinators,
yeah,
they're pretty good with that. Same with Dorsey.
I think it's just you're missing the veteran status of an OC at this point, and Dorsey's going to grow into that unless he takes a head coaching job somewhere that he's offered. But hopefully, I mean, I don't know who. I don't think he'll get hired personally, but I think he'll grow into the position of OC and hopefully hone in a little bit as years come, which would be interesting to see for sure. But I want to switch. Let's look at this all-star defense we had though. I mean, Tremaine Edmonds, absolute Terminator out there. Just to start off, I was 2 tackles away from hitting a huge parlay. All I needed was 2 tackles from him, but you know what? We're gonna let that slide. He had a good game. He had a great game. So the defense in general, I mean, they really were dealt some bad field position quite a bit from these return interceptions, like stuff like that. You know what I mean? And they put it together pretty well, I think, for the hand that was dealt to them in a lot of these situations. So I don't know.
Definitely. I mean, you look at Kyer Elam's game. I mean, for his first ever playoff game, he played very well. He was a standout at corner. And then I just had to give a shout out to Shaq and Boogie there, 2 backup edge rushers making their impact. Shaq kind of somewhat of a revenge game because he went to Miami after the Bills let him go, so maybe he kind of wanted to stick it to him, being like, shouldn't have cut me. But
0 for 3 on the Jordan Phillips revenge games. Unfortunately, missed all 3 of the Miami games.
That's tough. Wow. That's extremely tough. But I don't know. That was just positive mostly defensively.
Yeah, I think it was. They gave up 1 drive over 70 yards, and that was the touchdown to make it 34-31. That's it. Like the 2 comments that were making me the most upset after the game were some people were saying the Bills didn't deserve to win, which is like, okay,
do I
think like they got a little lucky with how careless they were with the football? Sure, they also dominated the football game, so
yeah,
that can stop. And then like the Dolphins, Skylar Thompson put up 31 points. I'm like, what an absolute flawed stat that is.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. When you score a defensive touchdown and you get a short field from a kick out of bounds, which is a field goal, you get like 3 other short fields from a punt return and 2 interceptions, which were 9 other points based off field goals. So what? That's like 19 points or something like that. Like, it's just a flawed. That made me so mad. It's like,
no, they're acting really like he's the second coming of Brock Purdy when in actuality he did not have a game like that. So
no, he was bad. I mean, Skylar Thompson was bad. I also will like defend him a little bit. Like his line is terrible, and he still played bad. Like he played bad, and his line is terrible. Like his line is worse than he played, just because like Waddle dropped a couple, Hill dropped a couple. He actually threw an absolute dime, and like when the Bills were in Tampa 2, when Edmonds sprinted up the middle of the field to try and get in front of Gesicki. He threw an absolute dime. And actually, Edmonds didn't touch it. I mean, it was a good defense, but like it went right through Gesicki, and he might have been. I mean, that might have been a touchdown, but
yeah,
I think it was a great day for the Bills defense, and the fact that they didn't allow any real big plays.
Oh, Trey Wright broke up that Waddle pass too. That was a standout play.
Yeah, traded Taron Johnson had a good day. I think it was a really beneficial. I think it was a really important day because these DBs really hadn't gotten tested for a little bit, and we saw what happened in the first 10 minutes of that Bengals game. They looked a little bit outmatched.
Yeah.
So, like, it was nice to see Trey. I think he got targeted 6 times against Waddle and Hill. He had 1 catch for 13 yards, 2 pass breakups. I mean, Elam, I think had to give 1 catch for like 10 yards or something like that. Interception, a couple pass breakups, especially the 4th down one. Like to see Elam have such a big game, and Trey was nice, and then Taron's also always kind of, underrated. And then the linebackers are studs. So.
Yeah,
my boy Edmonds, stud, absolute stud.
He wouldn't have contract.
I'm saying he wouldn't have missed that tackle on 4th and 8 if you switched Milano and him. He makes the tackle. Yeah, I love Matt Milano, man. Dude misses a lot of tackles.
Yeah, no, that is true. That's one flaw of Matt Milano. But was that that one pick? That was Marlowe, right? That was solid. I did not see that coming until the ball was in his hand, so I don't think anyone did. The rest of the Poyer behind him looked flabbergasted all of a sudden.
Because he was in the wrong spot.
Yeah. So that was 100% luck, but we'll take it, But I don't know. I thought overall it was a gritty playoff game, and we had the defense show up, like we said, and the offense and special teams need to work on it. But I think hopefully going into this Bengals game, everyone realizes that, and we see a consecutive
Well, I
Bills
think the
team.
concern would slightly be is that they've struggled to rush with 4 ever since Vaughn got injured.
Mhm.
And last game, they did a really good job sending an extra rusher. Like Milano had 2 sacks.
Yeah.
Aaron had a pressure. Edmonds had a pressure. It's going to be crucial. I mean, listen, the Bengals D. I don't want to preview too much, but the Bengals D line's so banged up, they probably won't have to do that.
Mhm.
But that's the one I would say improvement I would want to see from the Bills. I mean, the Bills D line did a fantastic job against the run, but I would like to see them be a little bit better when they just rush 4 in situations, because it was a little bit of a quiet game from Groot. Obviously, I know Boogie. I think Shaq might have had a sack. I mean, like there was moments, but it seemed far too much time where it felt like Thompson had like a couple seconds in the pocket, was able to, and credit to him, like move around a little bit, and all of a sudden he has the play is 6 seconds long before he throws the ball. And credit to the Bills coverage unit, because that's a long time to hold up.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean,
also, like, the Bills offense, they're never going to face a defense quite like that again, of a team that's just going to absolutely just go all out and try and get the turnovers. I don't think any defense is going to have that kind of game plan again. So
no, they're not going to run cover 0 every other play. You know what I mean? And just try and blitz
3rd and 15, cover 0.
Oh my god! Like, I don't know. It's like that. It's like that kid you play in Madden online that just
Engage
blitzes
8?
every play. Yeah, engage 8. Yeah, just sends the men every play. You know what I mean?
Mike will blitz.
Mike will blitz, exactly.
I hate that.
Yeah, that's exactly what the Dolphins are doing, man.
The play was nerfed, okay?
It was nerfed. It was nerfed.
Now it is. It used to be broken.
Extremely.
Oh my god.
On the Xbox One version, it was extremely broken, but I don't know. I think we've overcome the Mike will blitz, and that was very promising to see. You know, so when you have a quarterback who can roll out like that, that's what you got. You know.
Also, it's kind of nice to see like the Bengals struggled with the Ravens.
Yeah.
Similar kind of, division backup quarterback.
Did you see Joe Mixon was talking trash today, though?
I don't care what Joe Mixon has to say.
He likes to run his mouth anyway.
He does.
So
listen, they can talk. They can talk all they want. Like, I mean, they're the defending AFC champions. At the end of the day, you can talk all you want.
Yeah,
we'll see what happens on Sunday. That's
no, Gabe Davis will put his Nike Air Force One cleat in his mouth. You know what I mean?
Playoff game, man. Listen, we've been incredibly critical of Gabe the entire season.
Playoff Gabe,
man, did that dude have some really clutch catches, and that touchdown throw and catch, that was from the stadium perspective, absolutely jaw dropping.
Dude, he eats those. Go ahead, Mike. What were you gonna say?
No, I was gonna say Diggs too. The one catch, it was out of bounds. He didn't have both feet in.
Oh my gosh!
But that's a great catch.
Dawson Knox's first touchdown catch, fantastic, reaching that hand around. You know, like
even Shakir's one catch in the fourth quarter, he got up there, made a great catch.
I don't think that Diggs catch was a catch, but the fact that they didn't take the time to at least review that, it was an absolute travesty.
Oh, it was,
because it was. I mean, it was top notch, and he got originally watching the game. We're like, oh, he didn't get a second foot in bounds. Then we're like, oh my god, he got a second foot in bounds. And I was like, I don't know if he had possession when his first foot touched, but I was like,
rolled down the belly. Yeah,
that's tough.
Playoff game.
The Shakir drop was just such. I mean, honestly, if we're talking about when stuff started to go south, I mean, you could talk a lot about the Knox drop. It would have been 21-0. Now it's 17-0. Bass kicking the ball out of bounds. What was it, 17? Josh's first pick. It was 17-6, 3rd and 8. You get a 50-yard completion, and all of a sudden now you're punting and you gave up a 50-yard punt return. So they basically took over the ball where you had it.
Yeah, exactly.
Complete killer.
Yeah, I mean, it's whatever at this point. Playoff Gabe eats the butterfingers he has in the regular season.
We get to listen to Tony Romo's commentary again.
I don't quite understand why everyone was so mad about that.
Listen, all I'm saying, listen, we're listening to Tony Romo this week. I'll be so happy to do it again next week.
Wait, what, Mike? Did you have an issue with Tony Romo's commentary, or is that a good thing you're saying?
Just in general, I don't like his commentary.
Oh,
I think he likes the sound of his voice a little bit too much.
He does.
I think he changes his opinion way too often.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, honest to God, he's actually he's honestly a good he's actually good at he's good at his job, but he just talks way too much. It's interesting to hear him talk.
Although I will listen to Tony Romo over Chris Collinsworth.
Absolutely.
Tony Romo is super. I gotta admit, this is coming from Tony Romo is super pro Bills, which I'm not going to complain about really that much.
He loves Josh Allen.
Yeah, you know how we talk about Chris Collinsworth having a man crush on Patrick Mahomes? Tony Romo's with Josh Allen.
Well, you know what? Here's my one thing I want to say about Tony Romo. If only he had the opportunity to diagnose defenses like he does in the booth when he actually played, because he would have been an all-star. That's all I'm saying. So
he was a Pro Bowl quarterback. I mean,
he was
okay.
He was
okay.
Yeah, I know.
I know, but still,
he just broke his back.
Yeah, that was a bad injury. I do remember that.
Listen, Tony Romo. It's simple for Tony Romo. Just don't let him hold the field goal attempt, and you're gonna be fine.
Oh God! All right. Well, I think that's gonna do it for our Bills recap. We'll be coming at you with some more.
Wait, I got to ask one question.
Okay, one question.
Who is your MVP of the game?
Oh yeah, that's right.
Kyer.
You said I thought you said Shakir. I don't know why.
No, Kyer.
I got to say Edmonds. That dude was the Terminator out there. As I said, he was killing people. So I'm all for it. He avoided a call apparently because the ball was in the way of a head-to-head contact. That's apparently what everyone's been saying.
Honestly, God, I think it's hard to say, but I would say most unsung hero was Kyer just because he came off the bench for Daniel. Also, if he doesn't start next week, we're all gonna get our pitchforks and
it's time to riot.
Time to riot. But I think the MVP has to be Davis because he made some.
No, that's fair.
I mean, talk about out of world. I don't know what happens when this man plays in the playoffs, but he made the one catch that McDermott had a challenge. Made a nice catch to start the drive to get that field goal before halftime, and that touchdown was just, it was sick.
Dude, I'm telling you, Gabe Davis has Butterfingers for hands in the regular season. Then he eats them and gets the chocolate all sticky, and then the ball just sticks to his hands.
All I'm saying is his sideline awareness in the regular season is a 40 on men, but then when it becomes playoff time, the dude just toe taps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I mean, you saw it. I don't know if you saw the interview today, but he was on the jug machine for an extra half hour, and apparently Von Miller put a replica of the Super Bowl, and man, any motivation is good motivation.
Yeah, look at that. Yeah, Mike, who's your MVP?
It was Elam.
Okay, all right. Well, I think now that's officially going to do it for our Bills topic today on the Buffalodian podcast, and we are going to head into the Sabres topic. But before we head in, I would like to mention the Sports Bring People Together podcast. You should listen for entrepreneurial conversations with those in sports, and who knows where the chats will take you, but sports got us all here together in the first place. Find the show wherever you listen to your podcast, or simply visit sportseplus.com. Now, fellas, how about them Sabres? Huh? Are we taking a minute? Do you want to take a minute?
It was the anniversary of when Jimmy Johnson said, "How about them Cowboys?"
Today?
Yeah, that was their last road
today or the other day.
That was their last road playoff game. They won until Monday. Talking about the Sabres though, absolute bra week. There's no way to say it.
No.
What, they went 1-2-1? Terrible.
Awful. Hiddlestro's is on waivers. We'll talk more about that. It's falling apart. This is bad.
The only thing I'll say about the Sabres is some of the teams they played were rolling. They had some hot matchups.
That's true. They played some hot teams, but
Chicago losing it in the third period to the team that's openly tanking for Connor Bedard is kind of sad.
I mean, I'll put it this way: if you want to recap their 4 games this week, Game 1 at home against Winnipeg, they get absolutely hellbucked. They were the better team that game. I'll give them credit, but they got absolutely hellbucked. Talk about having an elite goaltender really matters in the NHL. That dude just stole 2 points in the Sabres and just took it and just ran. Florida, they just get absolutely dominated on home ice against your it was such a big week for the Sabres. They play Florida at home. They play who's the second team that they play? Nashville, which is a solid team but beatable, and they play the Blackhawks. They need to beat the Blackhawks. They beat Nashville, which is a good win. They dominate Nashville. Florida's right in your wheelhouse. They're right around where you are. You kind of had to win that game at home. And, I don't know what to say. They're now 9-12-2 at home on a 4-game losing streak going into Ryan Miller night tomorrow. It's if you want to win a playoff, if you want to be a playoff team, you have to protect home ice.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's a great sign, hey, they're 12-7 on the road. That's a great sign. That's a playoff team road record. If you just saw the Sabres road record and saw that, you'd be like, oh my gosh, they're in the playoffs. And then you see that they're like way below 500 at home. It just, you know what it is? It's like that stupid horn they go out of. It's just too loud. It kills everyone's eardrums.
Saber Dance needs to come back. Get the music out there. Come on. Like, oh my God. Every time I'm sitting there with Dom, I jump, by the way, when that horn
Just needs
goes
to
off.
be the guy saying,
Never
welcome
fails.
back to the ice. Like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Drop those swords. Like all the
why
people
you
say
gotta
now.
do that? Why do you gotta make everyone jump out of their seat and not because they're excited?
It doesn't
because
help when the
it's
acoustics in
scary.
that building are terrible, so it just goes right through you. Anytime they play music, it's like you're start
nerds
bleeding.
gone wild or whatever. It's like I can't even hear a word you're saying half the time.
They're the only decent band that plays there half
That's
the time,
true.
and you can't even hear them. You know what I mean?
Shout out to them.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's just
listen. You got to be able to
disappointing.
defend home ice, and they can't for whatever reason. I'm at least happy that they waived Hinestroza. From the fact of I'm so done with these stupid paper transactions, and you're just hurting you're just honest to God though, you're just hurting your own team by doing it. Like it doesn't make any. It doesn't make any sense.
Since that started, they've been imploding. I mean, truthfully, since that started, I mean,
Comics come back, yeah. I mean, it doesn't make any sense for me to like, oh, let's just have Jack Quinn have a night off because we need to have a paper transaction. Like they should have done this. Like this is what I'm saying. Do we give the Sabres credit for waiving Hinestroza, which was the right decision? Or like, should we give them punishment because they waited to like see if they could help him by trading him instead of just waiving him right away? Like I don't know.
I don't think you give him any credit. I mean, listen to episode 1 last March. I was saying send Hinestroza away. You know what I mean? Send him down, whatever. I mean, there's evidence there. They should have just taken a listen, and they would have been way off the radar. It would have been great. But since this has started going on, when Comrie came back, and they've been doing all these transactions, like the season is, for lack of a better word, taking a poop. Like it's just it's not there. It's not. They're not riding like
a worse phrase than that. So
no. I would have, then I would go in and edit in a bleep. So I don't really want to do that. You know what I mean? But I mean, I don't know. It's tough.
I don't know. I mean, it's a young team. You got to expect highs and lows. I mean, they're still kind of learning. Don Granato's still kind of like a new coach, and I know we've talked about numerous times his head coaching style, if he really should be a head coach, if he can be the head coach of a successful team, or if he's an assistant coach, but that's not what we're talking about right now.
I mean, I think it's relevant, but
I mean, yeah, he's our head coach for the next few years with that extension. So
I know, but I'm just saying, like, I think it's to be expected that this team is going to go through a slump here. I think Tage went 5 games without scoring a goal.
Mm-hmm.
I think Cousins went on like a little stretch where he wasn't getting any points. Mm-hmm. You've seen like Dolly and Skinner, they've kind of slowed down a little bit from their pace earlier in the year. Like we knew it wasn't going to last. We knew all these guys weren't going to get 90, 100 points, but I think they just need to kind of like look themselves in the mirror and be like, hey, we were the top scoring team in the league, and now we've slipped a little bit. Like, what in our game has changed? Like, what have these teams figured out about us, and what can we change so that we can start scoring again?
No, I think all your points are good, and like I think what the frustrating part, I guess, from my perspective is like your scoring has slipped, but your like defensive effort and your ability on the defensive end has also taken like a step back as well. It's not like
I would say we have half of a successful NHL D-core.
I would agree, and you also have plenty of one-way forwards too that don't help your cause.
Yeah.
So like that's the frustrating thing.
I'm gonna give credit to Tyson Jost.
Fantastic,
dude. What a claim right there. Yeah, that was a great waiver claim.
Kevin Adams, round of applause. And
poor Soul has to be on the line with Middlestat and Olofsson though, so he's
the only
like,
good part of that.
Kind of carrying them. Like they've had a couple pretty nice games. I'm not gonna lie, but I think that's the frustrating part is that if you're gonna slip offensively, you got to at least be better defensively, and they haven't. And I think it's hard, especially when I don't know if it's the All-Star buzz or whatever, but ever since like they did that thing at the arena where Tage Thompson has been sucked to the All-Star game, like he just hasn't pulled in that well. Obviously, I know he scored last night, but when your best player goes into a slump, when the kid line was quiet for about 2 weeks, they're starting to get back into it now. They've played pretty well the last couple of games.
Yeah, and then you got Bryson and Labushkin tying up the bottom half of the defensemen. I mean, that's just, that's ridiculous. Dude, so bad.
Keep betting Labushkin over on penalty minutes. Like You'll make a lot of money, I swear. That and the amount of times in the game you'll be like, wow, Jacob Bryson got to the puck first, but got bodied off the puck. That will also be a pretty heavy counter by the end of the night. Or, wow, play in the front of the net. Wow, no one cleared the front of the net. It just, I don't know. Like, the bottom pair is just a complete mess. The Power and Yoki Haru are not a very good pair together. They're actually better without each other. And, I mean, your top pair of Dahlin and Samuelson have been pretty meh for about a week now, which is fine. I mean, you're not expecting, again, as you said, Mike, they're not expected to go on pace till the whole season like they were. But that should be a somewhat of a concern. But at the end of the day, last night, they lost because Craig Anderson was terrible.
Yeah.
Like, he gave up 4 goals on, like, 2.6 expected goals. The Sabres were supposed to score, like, 4.5 goals. They completely dominated the game. They lost because one goalie got saves. You know, I mean, granted, to be honest, Casey Milstead was a pretty big goal scorer last night for the Chicago Blackhawks.
Yeah. I'm at a loss of words. I truly am. I mean, it's just, I think we need constant goaltending. I think that's the thing, and it's tough when you throw.
Well, you're not going to get consistent goaltending.
Oh, right.
That's the thing in the National Hockey League, though, Joe. Is like when you barely spend any cash. I'm not saying you should go out and spend like $5 million on like when Brain Hobie was a free agent, but like when you don't have an elite goaltender, you're gonna have moments where it's like, okay, the goaltending's fine, and then next week you're gonna be like, man, the goaltending is a problem.
Yeah, I think Craig Anderson's at the point though. Like, I don't know, you're resting him, right? Like you're playing Comrie, you're playing.
They're really banking on a Devin Levi being the franchise goaltender.
Mm-hmm.
They just better be careful.
Are you worried about that at all? I mean, like, what happens if he doesn't pan out?
I just don't think you should rush him. I think, look at Casey Middlestat. He was rushed into the NHL, and look how much, Yeah,
he's awful.
Not that great. He's played better, but he's still not good. I wouldn't have him on the roster.
Listen,
at the beginning of the year,
the experiment's over.
Listen, I'll take him and Olsen. Thank you. Yost, great waiver claim. RFA also by the end of the year, so it's also easy to keep him. He's done a phenomenal job of raising the trade value of both those dudes. So that's another golf clap for him. Yep. But no, honestly, the concern for me about Levi is the same conversation we're having about Levi was the same conversation we were having about UPL a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, UPL got double. I don't know if he got double hip surgery or he got one hip surgery.
Double.
Oh, he did get double. Okay. All of a sudden, I'm not saying Devin Levi was going to have double hip surgery. I mean, I pray that he doesn't. But, like,
don't speak anything into existence, all right?
But all of a sudden, he got injured, and all of a sudden, he's never been the same goaltender again. Like, he wasn't that dominant goaltender he was in juniors, and he was always mid in the AHL, and he's been all right in the NHL, but this season, like, we've been really impressed with him at times, and sometimes, like, he still has an under 900 save percentage, so it's not like he's been super consistent, playing. So I think that's my concern, is that you bank so hard on him. It's like, are you going to miss your window? Like, my question is this, and I guess this is the question that kind of needs to be asked. I know you have such a young team, but does Devin Levi fit your current window? Like, is he a guy like Matt Murray won 2 Stanley Cups with the Penguins, but the Penguins are dominant for so long. And then all of a sudden you added the young goaltender to take Marc-Andre Fleury's spot. Like, I feel like maybe the Sabres need to think about upgrading the goaltending position now and then just having Levi, as you say, ease in and then supplant that goalie.
No, I agree, because, I mean, you think about goaltenders take longer to develop. Usually they don't become really a true starter until they're, like, in their mid-20s anyway. So I don't think throwing in Devin Levi when he's 21, 22 years old is going to be successful. But look at Boston. They go out and sign Ullmark, who, he was a starter, but they also had a young guy in Jeremy Swayman, and now you pair them together, and they're the best team in the NHL right now.
Yeah.
Or you look at, just look at Carolina right now. They have Freddie Anderson, who's a veteran, and then they have Kochetkov, who's a young goaltender, and, you probably think one day he'll be their franchise goaltender, but right now he's behind the veteran who's, not sheltering him, but, is like that presence that you want. And I don't think the Sabres have done that. I think they've kind of are just expecting Levi to be this franchise goaltender. So they're like, oh, we're not going to invest any money in goaltender now because we want that goalie of the future. And we're paying for it.
Yeah. Also, my concern would also be that maybe they think UPL's that Freddie Anderson like maybe they think he's going to be the veteran, which I think is a bad bet. Like I think you need to add someone. Maybe UPL pulls the Levi of supplanting the veteran goaltender, but I mean, look at Carter Hart, look at Spencer Knight. Like those two dudes were like top goaltending prospects, and they've all been pretty mediocre in their NHL career. I mean, look at Ottinger. Ottinger, his first 2 years in Dallas was incredibly average. And then last year he ends hot and has the series of a lifetime against Calgary, and now he's like an elite goaltender. But it took him 2+ years to become an elite goaltender. Like, I don't think the Sabres can be like, wow, we're gonna just throw Levi to the fire, but he might not be good for 2 years, and all of a sudden now you're like still having mediocre goaltending 2 years of the 2 years of Levi trying to adapt.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just think, especially because I don't know, like Portillo's a goner. Like he's gone.
Yeah.
Like I feel like their two bets on the goaltending scare me. They're betting so much on Levi, and then they're also betting on UPL, and like
he's shown flashes of possibility, but you're right. He's not consistent enough.
We saw Casey Middlestead have like a 3, almost score a hat trick. Like every young guy has like a stretch.
Right.
Casey Middlestead scored 5 points in his first 6 career NHL games, and that was good enough for Terry Pegula to force Jason Bauer's hand to trade Ryan O'Reilly because I thought they had the second line center. Like,
well, I'm not against what they did with signing Eric Comrie. I think that was just like a lot of upside could have been there because he's young. He'd be given a chance, but I think that shouldn't have prevented them from signing someone else. Like I remember we got in that argument about Craig Anderson. You were like, we gotta get rid of him, and I was like, just
that was in the outdoor studio, man. That was a long time
I was
ago.
fine with bringing him back for the year, but mainly as like a third goaltender, and I think you got to think that's probably what they'll do. It'll probably be Lukin and Comrie, and Anderson will be the 3. I think you need someone with that experience like Anderson, but someone who's better than Anderson who can actually play. Because Anderson just can't play anymore.
Younger, but solid goaltender.
But that's my frustration of they did that with the forwards. Like they brought in Hanestroza for in case Quinn Turk weren't ready, but they were. And then all of a sudden you make this great claim of Yost, and then all of a sudden you don't need Hanestroza anymore. He's expendable. Like my whole thought process of when they signed Comrie and that they were going to bring back Anderson would be like they should add another dude who's a legit guy, and then all of a sudden if UPL becomes someone, you just Anderson just retires or something, or like something like that. Then all of a sudden you have someone, goalie A, Comrie, UPL, instead of having, a guy that plays once a week, once every 2 weeks. I just don't understand how that's going to do you any good, because you just saw it. Like he played terrible yesterday. When's he going to get back in the lineup? 2 weeks? Like I don't know how any like goalies. I feel like I'm not talking about a guy that's never played the goalie position his entire life, but I feel like it's a lot like a starting pitcher or a relief pitcher. Like you need to get work in. You need to get game experience, or
you got to stay fresh.
Yeah, you're going to start losing the fastball. Like you got to. And I'm not
saying
he's going to Carter Hart and not be able to see the puck anymore and have to have eye surgery, but come on now.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I don't know. It's tough because it's just like he's older. He's 41 years old. He has decent games, but you're absolutely right in the fact that he's going soft, right? And he's going to without warming back up, like you're just going to continue to fall off the plateau. Like you're not going to catch yourself and get back up. So
no, we haven't had that true goaltender since Ryan Miller. Maybe he'll strap up the pads for his game.
Oh my God. He's got gray hair now. He looks old. I don't know. Anderson's doing it at 41. So then again, doing it quote in quotes, I should say, but
I don't know. The goalie situation is just all messed up, and especially in the future. And like the forward situation is just like, why can't I just don't? It's like a football team having a mindset offensively, and then just having a completely different mindset rebuilding your defense of your team. Like offensively, they did a phenomenal job. Like they found all these young guys who are now all coming up together and all good now and are going to be good. And then you have reinforcements on the way. And then you look at defensively, it's like, okay, all 3 of your top dudes are already good now. But then you're playing 3 dudes that pretty much aren't, and you don't have any reinforcements coming in off your prospect pool.
Yeah.
Goaltender, it's a little bit different where like you have maybe one guy now that could be good, and you have maybe a potential star in the future, but you don't have anyone. I mean, it's not really guaranteed. It's a question mark. And listen, I guess that's why we've been continuing saying they're a year away, but I feel like it's a disservice to the rest of the team that this team just isn't good enough right now because of certain moves that just too conservative.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think, we just, if we go out and get it, we have the money. The Sabres have the money to go out and get a goaltender. That is not an issue. We're not going to hit the cap floor or anything
You don't
like that.
got to sign someone to like a 7-year deal or, just
No.
a massive deal. You can give them like a 3-year deal.
Just until you
Like,
get Levi out
I'm
of
not
the way
saying-
and bring him in.
Jessica Skinner was like, what, 4 years left in $9 million? Like in 4 years, you're going to get a huge credit card, like a tax.
And the cap's going to shoot up in 4 years.
Yeah.
So
no, you've got plenty of money to be going out and getting a goalie. That's more than just okay or mid, as Mike would say.
Here. I'll present you something. Okay.
Oh gosh.
So you look at Carolina, how they have Anderson, Kochetkov, Ranta.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's rumored that like they want to get rid of Ranta. Like, would you, as a Sabres, pursue Antti Ranta? Like, do you think he's an improvement over like a Comrie, Anderson, and is better mentor for Luukkonen and possible Levi?
I'm gonna leave that broad NHL answer to.
I mean, he's the guy but he's the guy that's played in the playoffs. Like I think he played in that last playoff series against Boston, didn't he? Maybe he didn't. Because I can't remember if him or Anderson.
I think they both got hurt actually at some point.
Yeah,
that's why
I thought they did.
But either way,
but he's a guy that has playoff experience, and I mean, he's an improvement over those guys. Like to me, the Sabres the last couple off seasons have not done this. I know they did this with Ben Bishop, but they haven't really weaponized their cap space as much. They need to I think they should get better than the trade deadline, but they also I'm just being like a third party in a bunch of these. I saw the stat where a third of the league has no cap space, and 20 teams have people on LTIR that need to have people on LTIR, or they look at the Oilers. The Oilers got Evander Kane back, but they had to put Kyler Yamamoto on IR and LTIR because if he wasn't, they'd be over the cap.
Yeah,
the Sabres could I don't know, take Jesse Pulviardi or someone you could just get someone basically for free by just taking a cap dump. And what's that going to hurt you?
Would you take a terrible contract, say Sergei Bobrovsky?
See,
terrible contract.
I don't think I would take a terrible. I don't think I would take a terrible.
But do you think you get value from him as a mentor because he's won 2 Vezinas, I think.
He did. Yep, he did one.
So, and they had some playoff runs in Columbus, and then last year a really good season in Florida. Do you think minus the cap hit, someone like him, you could probably get him cheap because Florida's gonna want to dump that salary?
Yeah, I think. Well, it would matter to me because I'm a big Radko Gudas fan.
Oh God,
right,
I hate Radko Gudas.
Yeah, see, this is the Christian Wilkins fact. So if we could get him and Bobrovsky, I would probably do it.
Hated him in Philly.
That's what I'm saying though. He's he's a perfect defensive for power. Defensive, hits a lot. He's
That's
actually
true.
good. Hits a lot that's actually good, not Ristolainen.
It's true.
Yeah.
But I think you'd have to add something and retain salary for me to be interested, just because that contract is so bad. But that's what I'm saying though. That's 4 years. I don't know. I don't know if they should be in the market for dudes that are. I think they should be in the market for guys that are making for their respective teams making too much money for their role. Priarvi, I think, is making $3 million a year, and he's a top 20 defensive forward in the league, but he's not very good offensively. But a team like the Sabres could use him because maybe in the Sabres offensive system he produces a little bit more offensively, and he's still that kind of guy defensively that we thought.
Someone that stood out to me when they were put on waivers. I know he's been in the NHL's I don't know if it was substance abuse or he's been in the thing, but when Jakub Vrana was thrown on waivers, I mean that man was a legit top 6 forward in Detroit.
Look at that one guy from Seattle now. What's his name? Tolvanen or whatever?
Yeah, Tolvanen.
Yeah,
from Nashville. They threw him on waivers. I feel like this year there's been a lot of guys put on waivers.
Well, it's tough to trade. I mean,
yeah, no, you're right. But But
that's the problem if no one have like there's 4 teams that legitimately have cap space. One of them is the Sabres.
I feel like the Sabres could also take advantage of waivers because there's been good players put on waivers, and we claimed Jost, and Jost has made a really good impact. But like earlier in the year, Mike Riley was thrown on waivers in Boston. Just there's been a lot of good players on waivers, and I think as a team with a lot of cap space and really a lot of question marks at some positions, like might as well take advantage of that free player.
Listen. The Sabres don't seem to want to give up a lot of assets, but if they could help a team and just
we get help as well,
and we get an asset back, that's what I'm saying. Like PRV or going off waivers, like I don't know. I feel like that would be a wise decision. But
show me the money.
Before we go back on the predictions thing, I did have obviously it's Ryan Miller night tomorrow, so I had to ask.
Sold out.
I have one question related to that, another question. But what do you think it was deserved? Because I was talking.
His number retired?
Tell you his number retired. Yeah, some people say it shouldn't, which I think is preposterous. But
I think he definitely should be.
Should be retired.
I think if anyone asked anyone like who has the most wins in Sabres history, I think the first answer is Hasek, but it's wrong. Like he does.
He's arguably a top 5
bobblehead sitting on a shelf right now.
Yeah, he had one of the greatest seasons of any NHL.
That Sabres team was not very good when he won a Vezina.
No.
And they should have, they should have won a cup when he was their goaltender. So like
06.
I like the little growl there.
I'm just saying he was
that team should have won a Stanley Cup. They had an AHL defense, and then Darcy, let's blow it up.
Yeah, no, I agree. There's no reason, there's no argument that he shouldn't have his number retired. That makes no sense. But
I just think like statistically and how he was the backstop for 2 of the best teams in Sabres history. The team that lost in Game 7, the
carried a terrible Sabres team.
Yeah, and was carrying like the 2010 Sabres a little bit. No,
it just shows you the power a good goalie could have.
And he was so respectful for the Sabres that when he got traded to St. Louis, he sucked for them to help them get a better draft pick. What an ultimate hero!
Look at that.
My second question is: so Matt Boldy got a 7x7 contract for the Wild. I can't remember. Is he the? Now I gotta look it up because I'm gonna be wrong. He was Cousins' draft, wasn't he?
He was 19, yeah.
Yeah, he was another guy that was debated at like 7 with Caulfield, Zegras.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think? I think Cousins is gonna get more, but do you think the number now?
I think it's comparable.
I don't know.
I think he probably will get more.
Get a little more.
I think he will probably get maybe 7.5.
I don't think it'll be a huge difference, but Cousins will be on the higher side.
I think that's in negotiations something he's going to use in comparison.
Yeah, I think it's a good comparable because my thought process is this: I think Matt Boldy's been like better for a longer period of time. Like Matt Boldy last year was really good, and this year he's been pretty good. He's not been as good, but Cousins has been better than this year. But Cousins also was all right last year. Now he just took this huge jump. I do wonder like how much like Tage making 7.1, is really gonna do. Like I feel like the Sabres have done a fantastic job normally in the Adams era of always being ahead of this. Like they already signed Samuelson. Tage got signed before Norris got 8x8 or whatever, and all those guys got $8 million. They signed Thompson for like. I feel like it might be time for them to do it before like Zegras' number gets announced or Caulfield's number gets announced.
Yeah.
So at that point, you're just gonna raise Cousins up. But Cousins is probably gonna become like Evgeny Malkin, where he's probably the second best center on the team, but he probably makes the most money. Like that's probably what's gonna happen. But no, I think it's a comparable contract. I think he's gonna get a little bit more than that. But
yeah. No, I would agree. I think he's on the higher side of it because he has taken a huge jump for sure since last season. But
it's encouraging.
Yeah,
it is encouraging. So
for the future.
Our predictions last week were brutal. I'm just not even going to talk about them. For some reason, we all want to. Some reason, the goal leader this week.
Imagine
Olsen with 3, and then multiple people I think had 4 points, but I just saw Olsen had 4 points. I just decided to put his name. We haven't, give him some credit for the week he had. So he had 3 goals, 4 points total. What are our predictions for this week? I should probably. You know what? It would probably be smart of myself to look at the schedule before I say. So they play Thursday against the Islanders, which is a big game because the Islanders are still in the wild card position. Saturday against the Ducks, who are terrible at home. So you expect them to maybe win that one. And then Monday, they play in Dallas, and Tuesday they play in St. Louis. So 4 games. Last 2 are pretty tough. First one's a super game.
I think 2-2.
Yeah, I think they go 2-1-1. I think there's an OT that happens. So I'm saying 2-1-1.
I would agree with that. Dang. Now, you know what? No, I'm going to go 3-1. Just because I think they're going to win this Ducks game, and I think they have to win Ryan Miller night for the lad.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to at least hopefully split the 2 Midwestern teams.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
So who are the point leaders? Joe, we'll start with you, big guy. Who leads the squad in points and goals for the 4-game stretch?
So I think I'm gonna stick with what I said, even though it was really far off this past week. I think Tuck and Darlene, even with his 10-minute major or whatever.
That was ridiculous. By the way.
Weak. That was weak.
Yeah.
I saw that and I was like, in and off watching the game a little bit, and I was like, "Oh my god, he must have like hit someone. Like they must have got like concussed."
It was not warranted for 10 minutes. Yeah, it was
like,
ridiculous.
Same thing with like Cousins got penalized more than Kachuk in the Panthers game off like a scrum. Really?
Yeah. I don't know. It's just
so you got Tuck and Darlene, sir.
I'm sticking with it. Yeah, Tuck and Darlene.
Michael.
I'm gonna go on a limb here.
Oh,
I think Jack Quinn's gonna get hot.
Okay.
He's gonna lead team in goals.
So the Lost Boys line comes back. Is that what's going on?
And I think Cousins leads in points.
Oh man,
that's what's going on.
The kids line's gonna be
good. The pee your pants line.
I will go Skinner and Power. I think Power has a breakout week.
All right, I like it.
I can't put Power down.
Honestly, that's more out of a limb than Jack Quinn leading in goals.
Power leading in points, yeah, probably. I mean, for him being such a good puck mover and all that, for him to have like 13 points and no goals is kind of remarkable.
Yeah. No, I think you know what. I hope he breaks out. I hope he breaks out.
You know what Owen Power is? Owen Power is like that really good rookie his first like basketball season that like really good defense, like does everything right offensively, but just can't shoot the 3-ball. This offseason, he's gonna have to get himself on the ice and learn how to shoot the puck into the net.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree with you. I think those are all decent predictions. No one picked Olofsson going for both. I can't believe that even happened personally.
Casey Middlestat will have at least 2 secondary assists this week.
All right. We'll keep that on the record as well.
That's probably minus odds.
Yeah. The past couple weeks, definitely. But that's gonna do it for our Sabres topic. And before we get into Would You Rather, there's a little tidbit in here. Little something different on the outline for this week. A miniature rundown to reintroduce the Bandits and the Amherst. Holy cow, it's been a while. The Bandits, they won at home against Georgia, 11-9, and they're currently 4-1 on the year and are on a 4-game winning streak. Would you look at that? Look at that. The Bandits are cooking like they were last year. And then the Amherst, 19-12-2 for 40 points in 33 games, and they are currently in playoff position. Solid. We'll have more in depth of a rundown coming up, but little teaser to get you back in the mix of it. All you listeners out there. But without further ado, it's your Would You Rather, Dom. So take us away.
All right. So, Mike probably knows, but the 1998 Olympics were famous because Dominik Hasek won the Czech, the gold. Because they won the shootout against Canada.
He won the gold.
Okay. Listen, he carried.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He won the gold.
I know. So my thought process is this. Shootout, your life's on the line. Would you rather have an elite goaltender but mid shooters? Or would you rather have really good shooters but average goaltender?
Oh, God. So all right,
it's a little it's a little bit like the 1998 Olympics, but obviously the Canada I think had Brodeur, so that's a little bit that's too far. He was actually good.
So we'll say Hasek's your goaltender and an average player. So
Middlestat, you have 3 Casey Middlestat. You have 3 Casey Middlestat
shooting on Hasek or Datsuk shooting on.
No. Okay, so it would be Casey Middlestat shooting on the average goaltender.
Yeah.
Oh,
we have Hasek and Arnett.
You mean like you have? It's kind of like you have a great defense but a crap offense.
Okay, so the average player shooting on the average goalie and the elite player shooting the elite goalie. So would you rather have the elite goalie
or and average players?
No, the shooter. Because look at like Datsuk. Pavel Datsuk was insane in the shootout.
I'd rather
it was a cheat code.
Yeah, the elite shooters because they'd make every shot.
Well, I mean, like they make
and even
the best shootout people like make 3 out of like every 8. It's like baseball. They only go like 3 out of 10.
Right, but the other team's got an
like
average.
Oshie in the Olympics in 14.
That's true. I mean, but Middlestat was pretty good in shootouts.
Yes,
I mean, I feel like the answer would change if I said Robin Lehner was the goalie on the other side.
Robin Lehner, I don't think made a single save in the shootout in his tenure with the Sabres.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know. I think I would take the elite goalie because I think shootouts are kind of a crapshoot.
Mm-hmm.
But like having an elite dude in the back, I just feel like the average NHL player I think can score against an average goalie. I think it's hard for anyone to score against an elite. I think it's harder to score against an elite goaltender than it is an average goalie.
Yeah,
I don't
know. No, I agree. But I'm gonna stick with the shooter.
Yeah, I'd rather have the elite shooters.
Casey Middlestat probably like hit the post and then hit the goalie in the back and then score. So it's kind of like a secondary goal, but I think he'd get the job done.
He'd figure out a way to get a secondary goal.
Yeah, he'd be the one to do that. That's for sure.
He loves his secondary assists.
Oh man! All right, well, Dom, like the Would You Rather? It was a good one. Life on the line. That added some gravity to it. Like it.
No,
Mike,
I was gonna pull a Max Kellerman and be like, Martians are shooting.
Oh my
God. Like I want Iguodala.
Want Iguodala.
Yeah.
Max Kellerman. Oh god.
I can't. Okay. Max Kellerman. All right, Mike. Take us into
trivia. They're kind of all the same question, just 3 different facets of it. Okay.
Yeah.
I like a 3-part question.
So the first question regards the Bills. How many playoff appearances do we have, and what is our record in said playoff?
Counting Super Bowls, like just postseason appearances, or just playoff games?
Like how many playoff games? Including this week, last week. It's a record.
7, 8.
Counting on fingers. Hang on.
8, 12. 13, 14, 15. I would say they've made 16 playoff appearances.
I'm going to say 19.
No, I meant like games.
Oh, how many games?
I phrased that. Oh. No, I phrased that bad. Sorry.
So they probably played 16 years. What, they're 4-4 in the McDermott era, so they've played 8. Their Super Bowl era. Oh, man, Super Bowl era, crap. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. They played 12 before the Super Bowls. And after the Super Bowls, 12. Oh, my God. This is actually a hard question. 14, 17, 18, 19.
25.
Probably another 12. I'm going to say they've played 31 games, and they are 9. They're 17 and 14, 31 games.
Okay. Joe, you said 25 games?
Yeah.
Any record prediction?
I'm thinking.
God, did he get it?
No.
No, I didn't get it. I know I didn't. I don't even know. Let's just say. Let's say 19-6. I don't know. I have no idea.
They're 19-6 in the playoffs. I'd hope they'd have at least a few Super Bowl rings.
Yeah, I was gonna say, boy.
They are in 37 playoff games. 18 and 19. Just below 500.
17 and 14. Darn.
Okay.
Does that count AFL?
Yes.
That was even. I was probably would have been off.
So now the Sabres part. This is why I asked for the Bills. The Sabres one was how many times have they made the playoffs?
Oh God.
In their 52 seasons.
So how many seasons have they made the playoffs out of 52?
How many times have they made the playoffs?
Well, what, they're on 11. Is it 52 counting? It's 52 counting this year, right? Or is this the 53rd season?
This is their 53rd season.
This is their 53rd season, so it's what?
Well, 40... they haven't made the playoffs this season yet, so they haven't, because it's
That's
still
true.
going
so 41 years, okay, I gotta think about the first 41 years because I know like basically 12 years they didn't make the playoffs. I know that they were really good at making the playoffs. I think they've made the playoffs in those years. I think they made the playoffs 26 times.
Pardon my language. I let one slip there. I'm gonna have to edit that out.
Bleep.
What did he say?
I huffed. I was huffing and puffing, and I dropped the F-bomb. Just, I'm thinking, chugging, smoke coming out of the ears. I'll say 38 times.
Okay.
In their 52 seasons, they've made the playoffs 29 times.
See, I should
0
have
championships.
Should have went over 50%. I knew obviously they haven't made the playoffs in 12 years, so I knew
no. They were on a 6 stretch from 1975 to 1985. They made the playoffs every year. And then from 88 to 95, they made the playoffs every year. Yeah, they're on some serious stretches there.
I mean, like I knew like their first 41 years they made it about at least 2/3 of the time. So
we're just really bad now.
It's still kind of remarkable that number is above 50% if you look at it, though. And that just shows you how good they were before this crapshoot.
They were a consistent team. And then last question, NFL playoffs. Which team has the most playoff games played?
Green Bay.
All time.
Are we talking about the Super Bowl era or all like what do you mean? Like is this a Super Bowl era or all time? Oh, Super Bowl era? Oh man.
Yeah, not like back to the 20s. 30s. Super Bowl era.
I'm gonna go Dallas.
I'm trying to think back to all those Super Bowls. Craig Morton Super Bowl that was against Dallas.
I feel like Dallas is
I'm gonna hop on Dallas with you, Dom.
I mean, if it
is Dallas. They have 65 games, 2 more than the Pittsburgh Steelers, which would have been my guess.
Yeah. I was thinking about guessing Pittsburgh, but I don't know. I had
I got a Craig Morton signed jersey. I remember that he was in a Super Bowl with
Anyone
Dallas,
want to guess who has the least amount of playoff games? Bonus question.
See, I feel like it's a trick question, and it's Houston.
It is Houston, the newest team. At 10.
Because it was.
I was very hesitant to almost say Detroit, and I was like, wait a minute.
Detroit's at 5th worst.
Just
Arizona Cardinals is at the 3rd worst, which is kind of sad because they were in
They've
St.
been
Louis.
around the whole time, haven't they?
They've been around a long time. St. Louis Cardinals.
Yeah.
Jacksonville has to be up there. I mean,
Jacksonville's only at 15. Carolina's at 17.
I forgot about Carolina. It's technically
Tampa Bay, who only has 22 playoff games, yet they have 2 Super Bowls.
Does Baltimore technically count? Like
Baltimore would probably consider
like the Colts, their franchise as well, I guess.
No, Colts would be the Indy Colts.
Oh, does that count for the Indiana? Oh,
yeah.
I know the
Ravens would probably be the Ravens because I don't think they associate themselves with the Browns.
Because the Browns moved.
The Browns moved to Baltimore, and then the Browns came back. But I think the Browns now associate themselves with the old Browns instead of the Ravens associating themselves with the Browns. But the Indy Colts, I think, associate themselves with the Baltimore Colts.
No, that makes sense. Look at this NFL history.
Yeah.
Not much. I mean, they did move in the middle of the night. Those Mayflower trucks.
It was. Yeah. I saw the documentary on that. That was very intriguing.
Good job, Ursay.
Yeah. All right. Well, that is going to do it for this edition of the Buffalonian Podcast. I'm Joe Callie. I was joined by Dom Loss and Mike Marino. And Dom, how do you always end these, buddy?
Go Bills, baby.
Go Bills.
Go Sabres.